The massive starship drifted silently above Earth like a storm cloud ready to burst. Commander Zalara stood on the observation deck, her scaled purple skin catching the dim light as her yellow eyes studied the blue planet below. She had heard stories about humans but never encountered them herself. They were supposedly primitive, yet somehow they had managed to defeat 3 Zolaxian scout ships. Impossible, she thought. The High Council had sent her to investigate and establish diplomatic relations. With these creatures, Zalara frowned at the thought. Her species, the Zolaxians, had conquered 12 star systems without meaningful resistance. They were warriors born to dominate. Diplomacy was for the weak. But orders were orders. Her second in command, Grex, approached with a respectful bow. "The human delegation will arrive in 20 minutes, Commander," he said, his voice a low rumble. Zalara nodded sharply. "Make sure our guards are prepared. These humans may appear harmless, but they are unpredictable." The meeting chamber was prepared with a long table and chairs that seemed uncomfortably small for Zolaxian frames. Zalara chose to stand her 7-foot frame, allowing her to look down upon the humans when they arrived. She adjusted her ceremonial armor and straightened her posture. As the highest-ranking female in the Zolaxian fleet, she needed to project absolute authority. When the doors slid open, Zalara was surprised by the human delegation. 5 small figures entered the room wearing simple, blue uniforms without visible weapons. They appeared so fragile with their soft skin and delicate limbs. The one in front, a male with short brown hair, stepped forward. "My name is Ryan," he said. "I represent Earth and the United Planetary Alliance. We welcome you to our solar system." Zalara studied him, noting his steady gaze and calm demeanor despite being surrounded by warriors twice his size. Interesting, she thought. "I am Commander Zalara of the Zolaxian Empire," she replied. "My people have traveled far to meet yours after your unexpected victory against our scout ships. We wish to understand how such a primitive species achieved this feat." A female human with blonde hair stepped forward slightly. Her name badge read, Lily. She spoke with unexpected boldness. "We are not primitive, Commander. We simply have different priorities than conquest." Zalara felt her facial ridges flare with anger at the implied criticism. The meeting deteriorated quickly with thinly veiled threats from both sides. And Zalara had agreed to nothing except another meeting the following day. Back in her private chambers, Zalara paced angrily. These humans were infuriating. She had expected them to cower or at least show proper respect. Instead, they spoke as if they were equals. Their audacity was unbelievable. Grex entered after a respectful knock. "Commander, the human called Ryan has requested a private meeting with you. He claims to have information about the battle that was not shared publicly." Zalara hesitated. Such a meeting was irregular, but her curiosity was piqued. "Very well," she said. "Tell him to come to my quarters in 1 hour." Ryan arrived exactly on time. Another surprise. The humans she had encountered previously seemed to have little regard for punctuality. He carried a small device in his hands. "Commander," he said with a slight bow, "thank you for meeting with me." Zalara gestured to a seat designed for Zolaxian proportions. Ryan climbed onto it, looking somewhat ridiculous as his feet dangled above the floor. "What information do you have, human?" she demanded. Ryan activated his device, projecting a holographic display between them. "This is footage from the battle," he explained. "Our ships were outgunned and outmanned by your scout vessels. But watch this." Zalara leaned forward as the recording showed the human ships executing complex maneuvers, diving between her people's larger vessels, using the Zolaxians' own weapons against each other. The tactics were unlike anything she had seen before. "We knew we couldn't match your firepower," Ryan continued. "So we adapted. We studied your attack patterns and used your strengths against you. Your ships are powerful but predictable." Zalara felt a mixture of outrage and reluctant admiration. Such tactics would be considered dishonorable among her people, but she could not deny their effectiveness. "Is this why you wanted to meet?" "To show me how you defeated our warriors." Ryan shook his head. "No, Commander. I wanted to meet because I believe our peoples can learn from each Other war between us would be devastating for both sides. The Zolaxians would eventually win through superior numbers and technology. But at what cost? His honesty was startling. Zalara had expected boasting or threats, not this calm assessment. "What do you propose?" she asked. Despite herself a cultural exchange, Ryan said, "One of your officers stays on Earth while one of our people visits your ship. We learn about each other directly, not through formal diplomatic channels where everyone is guarded and suspicious." Preposterous, Zalara thought immediately. Yet the High Council had ordered her to establish relations, and this might provide valuable intelligence. "Who would you suggest?" Ryan looked her directly in the eyes. "You, Commander, and I would be the human representative." Zalara laughed, a harsh sound that made Ryan flinch slightly. "You must be joking. I am the fleet commander. I cannot abandon my post to live among humans." But the seed had been planted in her mind. What would it be like to observe these creatures in their natural habitat? To understand how they had developed such unusual tactics? The following days brought more diplomatic meetings, more arguments, more frustration. Zalara found herself increasingly intrigued by these humans. They were physically weak, yet showed no fear. Their technology was limited, yet they had achieved space travel. Their society lacked proper hierarchy, yet functioned efficiently. It made no sense. After a particularly heated exchange, Zalara made a decision that surprised even herself. She would accept Ryan's proposal not because she believed in peace, but because she needed to understand these humans. To defeat an enemy, one must know them. The High Council reluctantly approved the exchange, insisting it would last no more than 1 Earth month. Zalara selected Grex to command in her absence and prepared for her mission. The human transport ship was tiny compared to Zolaxian vessels. Zalara had to duck to enter the main cabin where Ryan waited. "Welcome aboard, Commander," he said with a smile. "This will be your home for the next few hours until we reach Earth. I hope it's comfortable enough." Zalara looked around at the cramped quarters. "This is how your leaders travel." Ryan shrugged. "Resources are limited. We use them where they matter most." As the ship departed, Zalara watched her massive battlecruiser grow smaller through the viewport. She felt suddenly vulnerable, surrounded by aliens without her warriors. For the first time in her military career, she felt something close to fear. The journey to Earth was short but illuminating. Ryan explained their approach to space travel, emphasizing efficiency over intimidation. The ship's systems were integrated in ways that allowed a small crew to manage complex operations, a necessity born from limited resources. When they entered Earth's atmosphere, Zalara pressed closer to the viewport. The blue oceans and green land masses were unlike anything on her homeworld, which was mostly desert and rock. What struck her most was how much of the planet remained undeveloped. "You have all this land and water, yet your cities are crowded," she observed. "Why not expand?" Ryan considered her question carefully. "We try to preserve natural spaces," he explained. "They provide resources, clean our air, maintain biodiversity." It's a balance. Zalara did not understand Zolaxians built wherever they pleased, conquering nature as they conquered other species. The idea of intentional limitation was foreign to her. Ship landed at a facility outside a city Ryan called Portland, far from the diplomatic center she had expected. "Why are we here?" she asked suspiciously. Ryan smiled. "This is where I live. It's part of our agreement. You'll experience real human life, not just official functions. You'll stay in my guest house and observe daily routines." Zalara tensed. This was not what she had anticipated. She had expected high-security military installations, not civilian dwellings. This human was either very foolish or very clever. Perhaps both. As they exited the ship, a small group waited nearby. Zalara noted with surprise that most were not military personnel. A woman with auburn hair stepped forward, and Ryan embraced her. "Commander Zalara, this is my sister Amy," Ryan said. "She'll be helping with your stay on Earth." Amy looked up at the towering alien without visible fear. "It's nice to meet you," she said. "Welcome to our planet." Zalara did not know how to respond to such casual greeting from a civilian where she came from ordinary citizens would never address a military commander directly. The differences between their cultures were already proving more significant than she had anticipated. Her first night on Earth was sleepless. The guest house, though spacious, by human standards felt confining. The gravity was slightly stronger than she was accustomed to, and the air carried strange scents. The window offered a view of trees and distant mountains, so unlike the stark landscapes of home tomorrow. She would begin her mission to understand these humans, to learn their weaknesses, to report back to the High Council. Yet as she watched the unfamiliar stars through the window, Zilara felt something unexpected, a faint stirring of curiosity that went beyond military necessity. Zilara woke to the sound of birds chirping outside her window, a strange noise that made her reach instinctively for her weapon before remembering where she was. Earth Day. 2 of her mission to understand the humans, she dressed in her modified uniform, designed to intimidate with its sharp angles and gleaming metals. The Zalaxian Empire believed appearance was crucial to establishing dominance. When she emerged from the guest house, Ryan was waiting on the porch, drinking something steaming from a cup. "Morning, Commander," he said. "How did you sleep?" Zilara straightened her posture. "I slept adequately. The accommodations are sufficient." Ryan smiled as if seeing through her lie. "Would you like some coffee?" he asked, holding up his cup. "It's how many of us start our day?" Zilara hesitated, unsure if accepting would show weakness. Eventually, curiosity won. "Very well. I will try this coffee." The liquid was bitter, yet strangely satisfying. Zilara found herself drinking more than intended as Ryan explained. "The day's schedule. We'll start with a tour of the city," he said. "Then visit my workplace. You said you wanted to understand how humans function, so I thought seeing our daily lives would help." The human vehicle was primitive with wheels that touched the ground, rather than hovering as Zolaxian transports did. Zilara felt ridiculous folded into the passenger seat, her knees nearly touching the dashboard as they drove into the city. Portland was nothing like Zolaxian cities. There was no central planning, no uniformity. Buildings of different heights and designs stood side by side. Green spaces interrupted the urban landscape. People moved in all directions without apparent order. "How do you maintain control?" Zilara asked as they passed through a busy intersection. "Everyone seems to move without direction." Ryan glanced at her. "We don't control people's movements. They decide where they need to go." Individual choice is important in our culture. This concept troubled Zilara. On her world, movement was regulated. Efficiency prized above all. Chaos was not tolerated. Their first stop was a large building Ryan called a community center. Inside, humans of all ages gathered in different rooms. Some exercised, others created art. Still others discussed books in small circles. "What is the purpose of this facility?" Zilara asked. "It's where people connect." Ryan explained. "Learn new skills, meet others. Humans are social creatures. We need community to thrive." Zilara observed a group of elderly humans teaching younger ones to create something with their hands. The patience of the teachers, the enthusiasm of the learners. It was unlike anything in Zalaxian culture, where the old were respected but isolated, and the young trained only in useful skills. A small, human child no more than 5 years old approached Zilara, looking up with wide eyes. "Are you an alien?" The child asked. Zilara stiffened, unused to being addressed by younglings, especially so directly. On her world, children were raised in communal centers, rarely interacting with military personnel. "I'm Commander Zilara of the Zalaxian Empire," she replied formally. The child seemed unimpressed. "Can you do magic like in the movies?" Before Zilara could respond, a woman hurried over, taking the child's hand. "I'm so sorry," she said to both Zilara and Ryan. "Sam is very curious about everything." Ryan laughed. "It's fine, Kate. This is Commander Zilara. She's here on a cultural exchange." Kate smiled, though Zilara noted the tension in her posture. "Well, welcome to Earth, Commander. I hope you're enjoying your stay." The interaction was brief but left Zilara unsettled. How casually these humans spoke to each other regardless of rank or position. Where was the proper deference, the acknowledgement of natural hierarchy? There Next stop was Ryan's workplace, a research facility focused on space technology. Zalara had expected primitive conditions, but was surprised by the sophistication of some equipment. Though not as advanced as Zalaxian technology, it showed innovative approaches to similar problems. A human female approached as they toured the facility. Her dark hair was pulled back and she wore a lab coat covered in strange symbols. Ryan, Commander Zalara. This is Kelly. She's our lead propulsion engineer. Kelly extended her hand a human greeting Zalara had been briefed on. Zalara hesitated before taking it, carefully aware of her superior strength. I've studied the footage of your ships. Kelly said, her eyes bright with interest. The way you manipulate gravitational fields is fascinating. Would you be willing to discuss your propulsion systems? Zalara frowned. I am not authorized to share military technology. Ryan jumped in. Perhaps we could discuss the theoretical principles without specific applications, he suggested, something that would benefit scientific understanding without compromising security. The conversation that followed surprised Zalara. Kelly's questions were intelligent, probing at the boundaries of what Zalara could share. Her understanding of physics, while basic by Zalaxian standards, showed a creativity that Zalara's people often lacked. As they left the facility, Zalara found herself thinking about Kelly's questions. They revealed a different way of approaching problems, less rigidly structured, more adaptable. That evening they returned to Ryan's home, where Amy had prepared a meal. Zalara had been provided with specially formulated nutrition packs, but Ryan insisted she at least join them at the table. The ritual of the meal was strange. Humans apparently ate together, sharing not just food but conversation. The siblings asked Zalara about her homeworld, her position in the fleet, her impressions of Earth. Questions no Zalaxian would dare ask a superior officer. Why are you telling me all this? Zalara asked finally. The meal's formality broken by her bluntness. Why share your customs, your facilities, your knowledge? I represent a potentially hostile force. Ryan set down his utensil. This isn't a strategy, Commander. It's how we build understanding. We believe that knowing each other as individuals makes conflict less likely. People are less willing to harm those they understand. Such naivety, Zalara thought. Yet there was something compelling in the idea. Over the next several days, Zalara accompanied Ryan to various locations. A school where young humans learned not just practical skills but art and philosophy. A hospital where the sick were treated regardless of status. A market where goods were exchanged in a seemingly chaotic but functional system. A park where humans did nothing productive, simply enjoying nature. Each experience challenged Zalara's understanding of how a society should function. The lack of strict hierarchy, the emphasis on individual choice, the value placed on activities with no clear military or economic benefit. It was inefficient, disorderly, yet somehow effective. 1 week into her stay, Zalara received a communication from Grex, her second in command. The ship was functioning well. All diplomatic protocols were being observed. The human representative aboard was asking many questions but revealing little of value. Standard behavior for a spy. Zalara assured him she was gathering useful intelligence, though in truth, she was increasingly uncertain what to report. Real revelation came during the second week. Ryan took Zalara to visit a human military installation. Though reluctant, the Earth government had agreed to the tour as a gesture of good faith. The base was smaller than Zalara expected, with fewer personnel and weapons. A female officer named Susan led the tour. Her uniform lacked the intimidating elements of Zalaxian design, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. Zalara noted the interaction between officers and subordinates with surprise. There was clear hierarchy, yet the lower ranks spoke freely, offering suggestions that their superiors considered seriously. When Susan gave orders, they were followed without question. But discussion had preceded the commands. How do you maintain discipline? Zalara asked when they were alone. I see no punishment units, no fear. Susan looked surprised. We lead by example and mutual respect, she explained. Our people follow orders because they believe in our mission and trust their leaders, not because they fear punishment. Trust. Zalara had never considered this concept in military terms. On her world, obedience came from fear of consequences. not belief in purpose. That evening, Zalara sat on the porch of the guest house watching the sunset, a beautiful sight she had come to appreciate. The colors reminded her of the ceremonial displays on her homeworld, though these required no technology to produce. Ryan joined her sitting in the adjacent chair. "You're quiet tonight." He observed Zalara did not look. At him, "I am processing what I have learned." "And what have you learned?" Zalara considered her words carefully. "Your people are strange. You value inefficient things. You allow disorder. You question authority. Yet you function, you innovate, you defeated our ships. It does not fit with what I know to be true." Ryan was silent for a moment. "Perhaps what you know isn't the only truth." The statement should have angered her. Yet after 2 weeks on Earth, Zalara found herself considering it. The Zolaxian way valued strength, order, conformity. It had built an empire, conquered worlds. But had it created anything truly new in generations? Had it improved the lives of its citizens? A question formed in her mind. That would have been treasonous to speak aloud, on her homeworld. What if there were better ways to exist? The third week brought a diplomatic reception. Zalara wore her full ceremonial armor, intimidating with its sharp angles and gleaming metals. The other Zolaxian officers who attended did the same, their postures rigid, their expressions severe. Standing among her own kind for the first time in weeks, Zalara saw them through new eyes. Their formality seemed excessive, their mannerisms stilted, their conversations focused entirely on strength, conquest, dominance. With startling clarity, she realized how limited their perspective was. The final week of Zalara's stay on Earth approached with alarming speed. Each day brought new revelations about human society, contradictions that challenged everything she had been taught. Morning walks with Ryan had become a ritual, something she found herself anticipating rather than enduring. His explanations of human customs were patient, his questions about Zolaxian life respectful. They walked along a river path, the water glittering in the morning sun. Ryan had been quiet, unusual for him. "Is something troubling you?" Zalara asked, surprising herself with the question. 3 weeks ago, she would never have concerned herself with a human's mental state. Ryan looked up at her. "You return to your ship in 5 days." Zalara nodded. "This is correct. The exchange period ends." "And then what happens?" he asked. "The diplomatic team continues negotiations, but you'll be back commanding your fleet." "What will you tell the High Council about us?" The question had been haunting Zalara. Her official reports had been increasingly vague, focusing on observable facts rather than strategic weaknesses. She had delayed sending her final assessment, claiming she needed the full exchange period to complete her analysis. "I will tell them what I have observed," she said carefully. Ryan stopped walking, turning to face her. "And what have you observed?" Commander Zalara looked out over the water, gathering her thoughts. "That humans are different from what we believed, more complex, more capable. Your social structure is chaotic but functional. Your technology less advanced but more innovative. Your military smaller but more adaptable. And does that make us a threat or a potential ally?" Zalara did not answer. The truth was, she no longer knew. The Zolaxian Empire had only 2 categories for other species, those to be conquered and those too powerful to challenge, yet humans fit neither. They could be defeated, yes, but at what cost? And to what end? Their world was resource-rich, but its greatest value seemed to be the humans themselves, their creativity, their different perspective. That afternoon, Zalara received an urgent communication from her ship requesting her immediate return. A Zolaxian patrol had engaged with human vessels near Mars. Both sides claimed the other had violated agreed boundaries. Ryan drove her to the spaceport in silence, the weight of potential conflict heavy between them. As they approached the landing pad, Zalara saw a Zolaxian shuttle waiting, its angular design a stark contrast to the rounded human vessels nearby. Before exiting the vehicle, Zalara turned to Ryan. "I must return to restore order." Ryan nodded. "I understand. But Commander, remember what you've seen here. What you've learned about us." Zalara stepped from the vehicle, her full height restored by the formal posture she had gradually abandoned during her stay. It will not be forgotten. The shuttle journey was brief. Solara spent it reviewing reports. The incident near Mars appeared to be a misunderstanding. Both sides had withdrawn without casualties, but tensions were high. The High Council was demanding assessments, threat analyses, invasion plans. When she docked with her ship, Solara was met by Grex and a full honor guard. Their rigid postures and formal salutes, once familiar, now seemed excessive. "Welcome back," Commander Grex said. "The crew awaits your orders." Solara looked at her second in command, seeing him with new eyes. His unquestioning obedience, his eagerness for conflict, were all Zolaxians, so predictable, so limited in their thinking. "What is the current status?" she asked as they walked to the bridge. "The humans claim our patrol violated their territory," Grex explained, "but we have evidence their mining operation extended beyond their granted zone. The High Council suggests we use this incident to justify increased military presence." Solara frowned entering the bridge. The familiar environment, with its hard angles and utilitarian design, felt strangely alien after weeks in human spaces. "Report from the human representative," she ordered. "The human has been confined to quarters since the incident," Grex informed her. Following security protocols, Solara stopped, turning to face him. "The human is a diplomatic guest, not a prisoner. Release them immediately and bring them to my quarters. I will conduct a personal debriefing." Grex hesitated. "Commander, standard protocol dictates." "I am aware of the protocols," Solara said, her voice hardening. "I am choosing to ignore them. Inform the crew. I will address them." In 1 hour, alone in her quarters, Solara removed her ceremonial armor, feeling its weight, both physical and symbolic. The metal plates designed to intimidate, the sharp angles meant to suggest danger. She had worn it without question for years now. It felt like a costume. A chime announced a visitor. Solara composed herself, falling back on years of military training. Enter the human representative was a woman named Diana. Her posture was tense, but she showed no fear, despite her recent confinement. "Commander," Diana said formally. "Thank you for ordering my release." Solara gestured to a seat designed for human proportions, one she had ordered installed before the exchange began. "Tell me your assessment of the Mars incident." Diana seemed surprised by the direct question. "The official Earth position is that our mining operation remained within agreed boundaries. Your patrol approached without proper notification and refused to respond to communication attempts. And your personal assessment." Diana hesitated, clearly weighing her words. "I believe it was a misunderstanding on both sides. Our miners were operating near the boundary. Your patrol was being cautious. Neither wanted conflict, but neither would back down. First, pride is not unique to Zolaxians. Observation was astute. Solara had seen the same pattern countless times. Unnecessary conflicts born not from real threats, but from the unwillingness to appear weak. The ship's intercom announced it was time for Solara's address to the crew. She stood, smoothing her uniform. Diana followed her to the bridge where the officers had gathered. Solara looked at her crew, seeing them truly, perhaps for the first time, their rigid postures, their eager expressions. They expected her to announce aggressive action punishment for the humans, a display of Zolaxian might. Instead, she chose different words. "I have spent 3 weeks among the humans." She began learning their ways, observing their society. They are not what we believed, not primitive, not weak, but different. Their strength lies not in force, but in adaptation, not in uniformity, but in diversity. The officers exchanged glances. Confusion evident. "The Mars incident will be investigated properly," Solara continued. "Any violations on either side will be addressed through diplomatic channels. We will not use this as pretext for aggression." Commander Grex stepped forward. His posture suggested disagreement. "The High Council recommends immediate show of force to deter further human encroachment." Solara fixed him with a steady gaze. "I'm aware of their recommendation. I choose a different course." The statement sent ripples through the assembled officers. No Zolaxian commander openly disagreed with the High Council. It was not done. You may transmit. My decision to the council, Zalara said, dismissed the crew later alone on the observation deck. Zalara watched Earth rotate slowly below. The blue planet had changed her, though she was only beginning to understand how her communication device signaled an incoming message from the High Council. She had expected this. Their response was predictable. Commander, the message began. Your assessment conflicts with all previous intelligence. Your recommendation for restraint is denied. You are ordered to prepare invasion plans immediately. Failure to comply will be considered treason. Zalara closed the communication, her path forward unclear for the first time in her career. As a Zalaxian commander, her duty was absolute loyalty to the Council. As the person she was becoming, that loyalty was increasingly in conflict with her understanding of right action. The following day brought news that increased the tension. The human diplomatic team was requesting Zalara's presence at an emergency meeting. Meanwhile, the High Council had dispatched 3 additional warships to Earth's system. A clear escalation. Zalara chose to attend the human meeting, bringing Diana and a minimal security team. They met in the neutral space station, positioned between Earth and the Zalaxian fleet. Ryan was there. Zalara noted his presence with a complex emotion she could not name. The human president spoke first. Commander, thank you for coming. We have received word that your fleet is being reinforced. We consider this an aggressive action inconsistent with ongoing negotiations. Zalara maintained her formal posture. The additional ships were dispatched by the High Council, not by my order. And do you support this escalation? The question was dangerous, forcing her to either publicly oppose her government or endorse actions she increasingly questioned. I support finding a peaceful resolution to our differences, she said carefully. Ryan stepped forward. Commander, Zalara spent 3 weeks on Earth, he said to the assembled diplomats. She saw our schools, our research facilities, our communities. Did she see a civilization that deserves conquest? All eyes turned to Zalara. She felt the weight of the moment, understanding that her words could move events toward war or peace. The Zalaxian in her knew the expected response. Assert dominance, demand submission, follow the High Council's orders. But the person she had become during her time on Earth saw another path. I saw a civilization with much to offer, she said finally, one that approaches problems differently, values different things, achieves different outcomes. The Zalaxian Empire has conquered 12 systems because we believed our way superior. Yet on Earth I observed alternatives worth consideration. 1 month after the battle near Earth, Zalara stood in the observation dome of the human space station Unity. The diplomatic center had been hastily expanded to accommodate ongoing negotiations between Earth and the Zalaxian Empire. The view showed both fleets maintaining wary distance, a fragile peace bought with courage and restraint. Ryan joined her at the viewport. How are the negotiations progressing? He asked. Zalara did not look away from the stars. The High Council has agreed to hear the proposal for alliance, a significant concession. What changed their minds? Zalara allowed a small smile. The Devastator failure. Losing 3 warships to their own commander and primitive humans. It suggests their strategies may be flawed. Ryan nodded. The military minds understood the tactical implications even if the political ones resisted. The fact that we disabled, rather than destroyed their ships helped. I think made it easier to consider alternatives without losing face was important. To Zalaxians as to humans, Zalara had learned. The negotiations had been carefully structured to allow the High Council to pursue alliance without appearing weak. A delicate balance. You realize this changes everything, Ryan said. Not just for our 2 species, but for all the worlds in Zalaxian territory. Partnership instead of subjugation. Cooperation instead of conquest. It's revolutionary. Zalara turned from the viewport to face him. I am aware the Council certainly is. Their resistance comes from this understanding. Alliance with Earth threatens the Empire's fundamental structure, their understanding of their place in the universe. The difficulty was profound. Zalaxian culture was built on hierarchy, dominance, expansion, the concept of mutually beneficial partnership with species they could theoretically conquer, violated core beliefs. Many on the council saw Zalara not as visionary, but as traitor threatening thousands of years of tradition. And what of you? Ryan asked, his voice quieter. What happens when the council makes their decision? The question addressed what both knew but had avoided discussing. Zalara and her loyal crew existed in limbo. Neither officially condemned nor exonerated, their ship held in orbit around the Unity station, their status uncertain. I have accepted the consequences of my choice, Zalara said. Whatever they may be. Ryan stepped closer. That's not an answer. Before Zalara could respond, a human aide approached. Commander, the council representatives have arrived. The session begins in 30 minutes. The council chamber had been designed to accommodate both species. The Zolaxian representatives, 7 senior members, sat on one side, their expressions severe, their postures rigid with disapproval. Earth's delegation, led by the president and including Ryan, sat opposite the neutral zone between them, a physical manifestation of the gap they sought to bridge. Zalara entered last. All eyes followed her movement to the center position. She wore her commander's uniform but had removed the intimidation elements, the sharp edges, the symbols of dominance. A subtle statement, not lost on either delegation. Commander Zalara, the lead council representative, began. You stand before us, having violated direct orders, interfered with military operations, shared classified information with potential enemies. The penalty for any one of these actions is death. Yet you requested this hearing. Speak your purpose. Zalara stood tall, her posture confident, despite the threat. I come before the High Council not to defend my actions but to explain their necessity. My time on Earth revealed truths about humans, about ourselves, about our potential future together. I ask the Council to consider not just my words, but the evidence of what Alliance could bring. She activated the chamber's display system, showing schematics jointly developed by human and Zolaxian scientists. During the past month, propulsion systems combining Zolaxian power with human innovation, medical technologies, integrating approaches from both worlds. Agricultural methods adapted for colony planets. These are but samples of what collaboration has produced in 1 month. Zalara explained, not through conquest, not through subjugation, but through partnership. Human creativity combined with Zolaxian discipline, their adaptability with our strength. Together we achieve what neither could alone. The council representatives studied the displays, their expressions guarded. The lead representative spoke. Alliance requires trust, Commander. You betrayed your. Zalara did not flinch. I betrayed orders, not trust, not my duty to our people. I prevented an action that would have eliminated potential partners, destroyed knowledge we need, wasted resources that could strengthen us. My loyalty was to our future, not our past. Bold words. The representative's tone suggested both criticism and reluctant respect. The human president stood, honored representatives of the Zolaxian Empire. Earth does not seek conflict. We have demonstrated our willingness to fight if necessary, but our preference is cooperation. Commander Zalara recognized this possibility before anyone else. She saw what alliance could mean for both our peoples. Her actions, while difficult for you to accept, saved both our worlds from unnecessary loss. Ryan added his voice. Commander Zalara lived among us, learned our ways. She came as observer, potential conqueror, yet she left understanding something else. That different does not mean inferior. That cooperation can be stronger than dominion. That both our civilizations have much to gain from alliance and much to lose from conflict. The council deliberated privately while both delegations waited. The tension in the chamber palpable. The future of 2 civilizations, possibly many more, hanging in balance. When they returned, the lead representative addressed the chamber. We have reviewed the evidence, considered the potential benefits and risks. Our decision is not unanimous, but it is final. The Zolaxian Empire will enter provisional alliance with Earth for a period of 1 standard year. During this time, joint projects will be evaluated, benefits assessed. Any aggression from either side will terminate the agreement immediately. The human delegation showed relief, cautious optimism. Solara maintained her formal posture, knowing the council had not yet addressed her fate, or that of her crew. As for Commander Solara, the representative continued her actions while contrary to direct orders, demonstrated initiative, foresight, qualities the Empire has always valued in its leaders. She will be reassigned as diplomatic liaison to Earth. Her crew pardoned, but dispersed to other vessels. The sentence was both punishment and recognition. Solara would lose her ship, her command, but retain her rank. Her crew spared but separated. She accepted with a formal bow, aware that the outcome could have been far worse. The following days brought rapid change. The Provisional Alliance formalized joint projects, expanded. Human representatives invited to Zolaxian worlds. Solara's crew reassigned her ship, recommissioned under new command. On her final day aboard, Solara walked the familiar corridors, saying farewell to the vessel that had been her home for 7 years. Lieutenant Mira accompanied her to the shuttle bay. "The crew wanted me to express our gratitude," Commander Mira said. "We made the right choice. Whatever the cost," Solara nodded, appreciating the sentiment. "The right choice? Yes, but the cost significant. Her career effectively ended, her future uncertain." Ryan waited at the shuttle, his presence a surprise. He had been appointed Earth's diplomatic coordinator for the Alliance, an appropriate role given his experience. "Ready for your new assignment, Commander?" he asked as they boarded. Solara settled into the shuttle seat. "Diplomatic liaison. A role I never anticipated," Ryan smiled. "Yet one you're uniquely qualified for. You understand both worlds, both perspectives. You can bridge differences others cannot see." The shuttle departed. Solara watched her ship grow smaller through the viewport, the symbol of her former life fading. What truly changes? She asked, partly to Ryan, partly to herself. One commander reassigned. One alliance formed. The Empire continues, the Council remains. But what fundamental transformation has occurred? Ryan considered her question. Perhaps the greatest changes are just beginning. The Zolaxian Empire has existed for thousands of years, conquering, dominating, expanding. Without question. Now for the first time an alternative exists, not just in theory, but in practice. A successful alliance with Earth opens possibilities for relationships with other worlds beyond simple dominance. He was right. Solara realized the implications extended far beyond her personal fate, beyond even Earth and the Zolaxian homeworld. If alliance proved more beneficial than conquest, if cooperation produced greater advances than subjugation, the Empire's foundation would shift. The change might be slow, generational, but inevitable. The Unity Station grew larger in the viewport. Its structure expanded during recent weeks to accommodate increased diplomatic and scientific activity. A visible symbol of collaboration, Commander Solara, Ryan said as they prepared to dock. "Your actions saved billions of lives, prevented unnecessary destruction, but they may ultimately save the Zolaxian Empire itself from stagnation. The Council may not see it yet, but you've given your people a new path forward. One with greater potential than endless conquest." Solara had not considered this perspective, that her defiance, rather than weakening the Empire, might ultimately strengthen it. Not through traditional means of territory and subjugation, but through innovation, partnership, growth. Her loyalty not to current leaders but to her civilization's true potential. As they docked with the station, Solara saw human and Zolaxian personnel working side by side. Their differences obvious, their cooperation still awkward yet productive. Scientists from both worlds sharing discoveries, engineers combining technologies, diplomats navigating cultural gaps. The following morning brought crisis. Solara summoned her senior officers to a secure briefing room. The atmosphere was tense as they filed in, faces rigid with Zolaxian discipline. She noted which officers avoided her gaze already. Her authority was being questioned. "I have received information that requires immediate action," Solara began. "The reinforcement fleet carries Devastator weapons." The room fell silent, even the most loyal officers showing shock. Devastator technology was reserved for complete planetary subjugation. Deploying such weapons indicated the High Council had already decided Earth's fate. Negotiations were merely a delay. Tactic Commander Grex found his voice first. This cannot be verified. The Council would inform you of such deployment. Would they? Zalara countered. I have openly questioned their strategy, proposed alliance rather than conquest. They no longer trust me with their true plans. Lieutenant Vex, the weapons officer, spoke up. If Devastators are deployed, what are our orders? A critical question. The answer would define loyalty and treason. The officers watched Zalara, their postures revealing their internal conflict between ship's commander and distant council. My orders. Zalara said, her voice steady, are to protect this ship and its crew, to honor our true purpose as warriors. Commander Grex stepped forward. The purpose of the Zalaxian military is expansion, conquest, dominance. These are the values we uphold. Zalara met his gaze. Those were the values we were taught. But what is their purpose? What glory is there in destroying a civilization that could elevate our own? What honor in obliterating potential allies? What wisdom in rejecting partnership for dominance? The room divided, officers shifting, physically to align themselves with either Zalara or Grex. The moment balanced on a knife edge. Zalara knew her next words would determine everything. I do not ask you to betray the Empire. She said, I ask you to serve its true interests, not through blind obedience but through wisdom. Earth offers knowledge, technologies, perspectives we lack. Together we could become greater than we are. What warrior rejects advantage? What leader chooses weakness over strength? Her words found purchase especially among the younger officers, those who had observed humans directly during the exchange, those who had glimpsed alternatives to the Empire's rigid hierarchy. Grex sensed the shift, his position weakening. And if the Council orders direct attack, then I will disobey, Zalara said simply. For the first time in my career, I will place what is right above what is ordered. The statement was revolutionary. In Zalaxian culture, orders were absolute, commanders unquestioned. Zalara had just declared herself, in opposition to thousands of years of tradition. The meeting ended without resolution. The officers departed in silence, their loyalties uncertain. Zalara returned to her quarters, knowing the next hours would determine not just her fate but potentially that of two civilizations. A communication alert sounded. Earth was requesting urgent contact. Zalara accepted the transmission, finding Ryan's face on the screen. Commander. He began. Something's happening. Your reinforcement fleet has changed course. Accelerated. They're on direct approach to Earth defense grid. Zalara felt cold certainty. The Council was moving faster than anticipated, bypassing her entirely. They must have ordered the reinforcement commander to take direct action. Evacuate your major cities, she ordered immediately. This is not a negotiation. Tactic Ryan's expression shifted from concern to alarm. You believe they intend to attack without declaration? Without your order? They carry devastators, Zalara said. Not containment weapons. Not subjugation weapons, devastators. The color drained from Ryan's face. Earth's defensive capabilities, while impressive, were not designed to repel such weapons. How much time do we have? He asked. Hours, perhaps less. Zalara calculated quickly. Begin evacuations. I will attempt to delay them. The transmission ended. Zalara moved with purpose to the bridge. Her senior officers were already gathered. Some loyal, some uncertain, some clearly aligned with Grex, who stood apart, his posture rigid with disapproval. Status of reinforcement fleet, she demanded. Approaching Earth defense perimeter in 3 hours, Lieutenant Mira replied. They've ignored our communication attempts. Zalara addressed the bridge crew. We face a critical decision. The High Council has ordered the deployment of devastators against Earth without declaration of war, without honorable challenge, without necessity. Such action violates the warrior code we claim to uphold. Commander Grex stepped forward. This is sedition, he said, his voice carrying. Across the bridge, the Council's authority is absolute, their judgment beyond question. Is it? Zalara challenged. And if they order dishonorable action, do we obey without thought? What separates us from mindless drones if not our judgment, our honor? You and our crew watched the confrontation unfold. This conflict central to Zalaxian identity. the tension between obedience and honor, between loyalty to leaders and loyalty to principles. I am your commander, Zalara continued. I order this ship to intercept the reinforcement fleet. We will prevent the deployment of devastators against a potential ally, Lieutenant. Vex moved to the weapon station, signaling his support. Others followed, though some remained uncertain. Grex and a small group of loyalists stood apart. This is mutiny. Grex declared, I cannot allow it. Zalara faced him directly. This is principle. This is honor. This is the true path of the warrior. Not blind destruction, but protection of what could be our greatest alliance. For a tense moment, the bridge balanced between conflict and cooperation. Then Lieutenant Mira at the communication station broke the silence. Commander, urgent transmission from Earth. We're being hailed by both their president and the diplomatic team. Put them through. Zalara ordered. The main screen activated, showing the human president alongside Ryan and several military officers. Their expressions were grave. Commander Zalara, the president began, we have detected your reinforcement fleet's approach and acceleration. We are preparing our defenses, but must know. Are you part of this attack? Zalara straightened, her full height visible on the transmission. I am not. This action violates my understanding with Earth. I have ordered my ship to intercept and prevent the deployment of devastators. Ryan stepped forward. Your own people, would you fire upon them? The question cut to the heart of Zalara's dilemma. In all Zolaxian history, no commander had ever opposed the Council militarily. The concept was almost unthinkable. We'll prevent the destruction of Earth, she said, whatever that requires. The human delegation conferred briefly before the president spoke again. We welcome your support, Commander, but you should know Earth's defenses, while substantial, cannot repel Devastator-class weapons. Not alone. The implication was clear. Zalara's single ship, even if loyal, could not stop 3 warships carrying planet killers. Not without help. We have a proposal, Ryan said. Our combined forces, your ship and our defense fleet, working together might succeed. We've studied Zolaxian tactics, developed countermeasures. We need your insider knowledge to make them effective. Greg stepped into the transmission view. This is beyond reason, Commander, he said to Zalara. You would not only disobey the Council, but actively assist humans against our own fleet. Zalara turned to him. Not against our people. Against a dishonorable action that diminishes us all. What glory in destroying a world that offers alliance? What honor in following orders that lead to unnecessary devastation? The bridge crew watched the exchange. The philosophical heart of the conflict laid bare. Zolaxian culture valued strength, dominance, expansion, but also honor. The contradiction had never been so clearly exposed. Lieutenant Vex broke the silence. Commander, if we assist the humans, what exactly would that entail? Sharing tactical information. Ryan explained. Zolaxian communication protocols, shield frequencies, weapon targeting systems, working together to disable rather than destroy your reinforcement fleet. Zalara considered this. The humans were not proposing destruction, but disablement, a distinction that might matter to warriors caught in the middle. I accept your proposal, she declared to the humans, then turned to her crew. I do not order you to follow. I ask you to choose. Will you uphold our honor as warriors, or follow orders that bring only destruction without purpose? The moment extended. Grex and his loyalists moved toward the auxiliary control stations, their intentions clear. They would attempt to seize the ship, fulfill the Council's unspoken orders. Lieutenant Mira acted first, locking down the auxiliary controls. Others followed, securing weapon systems, engine controls. Lieutenant Vex stationed security personnel at key points. Grex and his supporters found themselves isolated, contained without violence. Zalara nodded appreciation to her loyal officers. We have little time, she said to the humans on screen. The reinforcement fleet approaches. Our defensive options are limited. Ryan stepped forward. We've prepared a joint operation plan based on what we know of Zolaxian systems. With your confirmation of these details, we can implement immediately. What followed was intense collaboration. Zalara sharing classified protocols, weaknesses in Zolaxian defenses, communication frequencies, the humans adapting their strategy, incorporating this inside knowledge. Their combined plan taking shape. Lieutenant Mira reported activity. From the reinforcement fleet, their charging weapon systems, Commander Devastator deployment preparations, detected Solara's ship moved to intercept positioning between Earth and the approaching fleet. The Human Defense Force arranged alongside, a partnership unprecedented in either civilization's history. The lead Zolaxian warship transmitted all vessels clear deployment zone, Devastator weapons activating.